great. That's great. Okay, let's do it this way. I think this could be helpful for you guys. Alright, let me go here. Over here. I'm just trying to find a way to help you guys out here. Get out your notes. We'll keep going here. I appreciate. Jaden was saying something yesterday. Wow, we are going higher. Okay, we're singing that song. It's giving me anxiety. I like the ride, but that's getting a little too much for me. Let's see here.
And I came in here at like 11:40 and you were in here and so sad.
I'm glad it worked out then. I saw you on the phone. I thought, well, I wonder if that's her. So I'm glad.
I was like out there like watching for you to see if we could catch you so you could talk to you before class, but
oh, got it.
Anyways.
Okay, so let's do this. I'm just trying to pull this up for you guys. So sorry. We are on voting, so we're on the new section of Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Yeah, you can.
Because I haven't been here for like 2 days. I wasn't here yesterday.
No worries. Okay, so we'll just go this way. All right, we'll just do this way. The Canvas is being funny. So, just as an attempt to try to guide you guys a little bit more, I thank you for following through and getting here. So on Canvas, not down, but the actual links for the notes are not showing the preview. Anyway, wrong one. Not this guy. I want to show you guys Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. Just as a way to sort of help. To help you guys, show you the right one here. As a way to help you guys just sort of follow along, in this paperless excursion. I did have a question for you guys as well. That is not really All right. So we are going to continue into. We got through the nomination process. We'll get into more of the details on options on policies. But I am curious because yesterday I did see a fair share of side conversations, and I appreciate Jaden was saying at the end of class yesterday, like, Pierre, sorry, we were just like sort of distracted or not really with it or something. Yesterday was a little bit rough, and I appreciate that consideration. And I would agree, it was just a little bit disconnected. So I'm curious. I was talking to my wife last night to think, are you guys? We're gonna do two things. One, we'll have the actual visual up here from Canvas, so you can sort of see what you're following along with on your own notes. Maybe that'll help you guys sort of keep track of it a little bit better. And two, are you guys looking forward to break?
Yes.
Okay, now she asked me this, Emma, and some of you said no, okay. Because she said for 5-6 months, a lot of you did nothing in the sense that you wanted to get back to school so badly so that you could have sort of a social gathering, if you will. And you wanted that, right? And then you got school, and I've noticed as I checked in with students pretty much every weekend, and aside from some sports, but even now winter sports, right? Like maybe you guys on the cheer team get to go, but other than that, Landry, there's not a lot of spectators at anything. It's not as much of a social thing. So my question for you guys is, are you guys doing anything for Christmas or for the holiday break? Do you guys have any plans for the break? Olivia?
It's not set in stone, but hopefully
Okay, all right.
And then like around spring, we're going to St. George. Like if we get quarantined like we did because of school, we'll just be taking a break from the house and just be in St. George and
Right.
go to R&B.
Well, and that's why I bring it up, because, you know, I was saying, yeah, they're just sort of disconnecting, because like, I wonder if they're just jonesing for a break, and I thought maybe naively, I don't know if they are, because going home might mean that it's still the same old sort of thing at home. I was there for 5-6 months, I want something different. But I guess going to St. George or going somewhere else as a break, even for Vegas, is a good thing, I think, if that happens. Are there any other plans? Allie, anything else?
Well, I don't know about fun, but like I think we all got so used to doing nothing for so long, and
Yeah.
then jumping right back into doing everything.
Yeah.
You'll just get like burned out super fast.
Well, Allie, and I want to, and Jorgen's nodding here, here's the reality. When school started, some people thought like, oh, other things will then start back up, right? But as you guys saw and have seen, they haven't. They have not started back up. Even young men, young women groups, or even like club, whatever, they just haven't started back up. So really, school is the only thing. And so that makes sense, Allie. Okay, school's in it. Now I'm grateful to be in school, to have some social thing, but you're saying you still want to have that break because you've been in school, you've done the whole social thing right now. Is that what you're saying, Allie? That,
I don't know, maybe it's just more personally because I like, just because like with work and like more personal stuff, but I don't know.
but like, so you're looking forward to the break in the sense that, hey, we got back in, we got, whoa, full on, and now it's like, okay, can I get a break in that way? Okay, still grateful to be in school, but also wanting the break. Okay, Jenna?
I don't know. For me, I didn't do nothing during quarantine. Like, I got a full-time job.
Okay.
Like, I honestly liked not being in school more, and so now that we're
Okay.
back in school, like, my boyfriend goes to Preston, right? And he's gone quarantine twice, and I'm, like, jealous of him, because I don't wanna, like,
Okay.
his teachers are, like, super understanding, too, like, online and stuff.
Not like certain teachers. No, I got
So
it.
listen, but like I feel like some teachers this year are just like, oh, we're back, so and like a lot of teachers don't even put this stuff online.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like in my personal stuff, I don't like coming to school. I don't like being here.
And so my son, I was just telling Johanna about, my son definitely enjoyed more the offline thing too. So your
And I
boyfriend.
could work and I could be doing school at home. So with my full-time job, I'd go
Okay.
from 5 to 3, and then I'd come home and do school, and then I'd be chilling.
So for you, your break, then you're looking forward to the break in that sense, correct? Of like, hey, A, like, I'm okay if I'm not here at school, but B, with work and other things, I want to have something else going on. That's sort of different. They don't have that. Okay, you guys get where I'm coming from in asking this, right? Because in certain angles of like, what am I going home to? Well, the same house that I was there, so I don't want to go there. In normal years, it's like, yes, obviously there's other things to do during break. But as I've seen every weekend and checking, like, kids have had a dearth of activity. Like, what have you guys done? I'm like, nothing. So I'm like, I don't know if you guys are looking forward to it. Okay, yeah, look.
Like, I'm kind of the same as Jenna. Like, I really just, I don't know, like, a part of me, like, liked coming back because it just was, like, such
Okay.
a change. Because,
Okay.
like, the online part was definitely hard. But the only reason why I enjoyed coming back is so I could actually just work towards graduating.
Okay.
Because, like, you know, like, I have a lot of stuff going on. I have a full-time job. I actually have 2 jobs. And I'm also starting a new one soon. So it's just,
Got it.
you know, I could be doing a lot of other things than just being at school. And it's just
Okay.
really hard, like, waking up early and coming to school and then having to focus on that as well. When it's just, like, when I can't wait to graduate and just be focusing on my work and my afterlife and
Totally
stuff.
fair. And that is, in the good news, that's a very normal senior element. Does that make sense? Like, that you are thinking, okay, I'm sort of ready to move on in a way, graduate in more ways than one.
And like I think I would enjoy it more if it wasn't like all this COVID stuff. I think it's COVID that's making it so draining because, you know, we have to come to school with masks and then we have to worry about cases
Okay,
getting shut down.
okay.
It's just like we're
There's
so
some little
back
general
and forth.
anxieties attached to it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And like my worst fear is like that we're not gonna get an actual graduation and like I've looked forward
Ooh,
to having
man.
an actual graduation for so long.
For
like I got
me,
to watch
yeah, I
both,
hear ya.
Like I got to watch both my sisters like, you know, walk at the spectrum and if we don't get to do that, that's just gonna hurt me.
Or even like at the, I'll even be fine. In fact, I sort of like it even if it's at our own stadium we had outside. That's fine too. I hear you on that. So in that case, you are looking forward to break in the sense of
Yeah.
not having to worry about some of this stuff, and
Yeah.
you can just sort of, yeah, you're at home in the same environment, but you're just not having to deal with it as much.
Mhm.
Okay, that makes sense, Jane.
Yeah, I was thinking too, like the break, I'm looking forward to it because I'm gonna be able to see like more of my family.
Okay.
Like my extended family.
Okay, so you will get to see some of your extended family then, right?
Yeah, some, hopefully. But
Okay,
I
right.
feel like, cause my family does a lot of like holiday parties and stuff, and with like the 4th of July not being there, and like all of these
Yeah.
different holidays
Yeah.
that we missed out on, like I haven't seen my family like
Yeah.
once. And so I think I'm looking forward to that.
That makes sense. So even if it's minor compared to other years, it's something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Jorgen?
I'm excited for the break because, I mean, honestly, for me, it's been like any other school year because
Okay.
I haven't really gone to that many games or been involved
Fair.
in
Right,
school
right, right.
activities.
Right.
So this break is going to be about the same that all my others have been, so I'm equally as excited as I
Okay.
have been in years past.
Right.
Because no
So
school is good.
no school's good. Even if it's like in the same environment that we might have seen more of than normal, still no school's good. Okay.
And plus there's snow, so we can go skiing.
Oh, okay, first of all, isn't that nice? Not first of all, the other thing, in a way the snow is nice because it makes it feel like we're actually having a holiday. Because like for a while there was like, it's all fake, nothing's real.
Last night there were the most beautiful snowflakes on the cars. I don't know what
It was like
happened.
very idyllic the way it was falling. It wasn't just like a Cache Valley, you know, it was you know what I mean? Like it was rather idyllic, yes. Hallmark.
It still did
Channel.
drop on the mountain where I live. It hasn't stopped snowing.
Interesting. Now, has it been, I feel like it's been a nice snowfall. Guys, I'm having a little bit of a therapy moment with you guys here because I saw the train going off the tracks yesterday. I'm like, okay, let me just make sure I'm taking stock in where you guys are at. Okay. Yeah, Jenna.
Oh yeah. Okay, just after the COVID thing, I kind of got excited when we were at 14 because I was like, oh, it didn't get shut down. I was excited to get shut down.
Okay,
But
so
it's
like,
outside, and I talked to my friends and they felt the same exact way. They're like,
Okay.
oh, we're gonna get shut down. Like, this is awesome.
whereas like a month ago, 2 months ago, that would not have been, does that make sense? Like I feel generally, but there is a mood shift and that's why I was trying to gauge the temperature on it. Yes, Brent.
I don't know if it's like from like the line earlier, but I feel like when we went to online school, it was so much easier. And like I'm not asking for it to be easier, but it's like an overload when you had that easy layover for like 5 months and you all of a sudden come back and it's like full rush and
Yeah.
hard, and then you go back online sometimes and it's like, what on earth are we doing?
I think what Allie and Olivia were saying there too, that air of like, what's gonna happen here? But also like, hey, nothing, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're in school. Again, look at it. Communally, there's not that much going on except for school,
Yeah,
you
and I
know?
know it's not like senioritis where it's like, oh, I don't want to
Right.
do anything because I have a
Right.
brother in high school now and he feels way overloaded too. And
Right.
it's like, what's happening?
There's a little bit of that air, that aura, if you will. And so that could mean, so you're excited for a break then to have sort of a, I'm
Yeah,
off from it then?
it's done.
Okay, okay, fair enough. Yeah, great.
I had a longer break than everybody because I did the first trimester
That's
online.
right, good perspective.
Yeah, and so like, I don't know, coming back while everything was already in motion and everyone was already used to it
Right.
was like way overwhelming.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know about
true.
everyone else, but Kayla, when she was quarantined,
Yeah.
That sucked, man.
yeah, and coming back,
That's a
it's
suckiest
like
thing, yeah.
all at once, and
Yeah.
I've got like a million things going on everywhere, and
Yeah.
it's just hard to keep up. So a break would be nice.
Cool. Okay, so in that case, especially if like, whoa, everybody's used to something, I'm not used to this, this is weird, and especially when nothing else is going on. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Great, I thought I cut your hair, it looks good.
Me?
Great,
Oh,
am I,
thanks.
right, I'm Captain Oblivious here, I just realized that.
Kayla.
This is nice, no, yeah. Go.
So yeah, for me, it's like I'm excited, but also I'm not. Because like,
Okay.
I was quarantined over Thanksgiving, which meant my family who was supposed to come didn't get to come.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing if they can come for
Right.
Christmas.
Right.
And then also my mom said and my dad's side, they both might be coming. So it's fun to see all my relatives that I
Yeah.
haven't got to see in years. But also, usually we have a bowl game over Christmas.
Yeah.
And that's like fun aspect going with the coaches' families who are like exactly combined, and we get these like fancy hotels that we don't have
Yeah.
to pay for, and it's nice. But then we don't get that this year because of all the crap that went down.
Yeah.
And but I
Totally.
do get my family, so it's like up and down.
Yeah, up and down, that makes sense too. So in general, you're looking forward to it. It's not a matter of like
Yeah.
fear of like, oh, it's so boring there, but just for different reasons up and down
Yeah.
that way. Okay, Navy.
I just like it right now, especially it feels like really off and on, like there's like
Yeah.
more negatives than positives.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if it's like, for me, like, I don't know if it's something I'm supposed to like look forward to or like hate because like we don't know if we're gonna get shut down or like.
That's well said, Navy. I'm gonna give you 3 points. I mean, everybody's comments here have been very good, but I really appreciate it. I don't know if it's a year I should be looking forward to or dreading, in the sense of, hey, 2021 also, this academic school year, I wanted to graduate in the right way.
We only have 5 more months.
Crazy
and that
thing.
is freaking
So,
scary.
no, it's that's well said. So it's sort of conflicted emotions. So are you looking forward to the break then?
Yeah.
But still conflicted, sort of like Caleb, but for different reasons. Like, okay, I'm getting that vibe from you guys. That's why I'm bringing it up. Okay, Callie.
I know that a lot of teachers are having like papers due or tests right before the break. And so
Yeah.
it's nice to have that stuff over, but then they're gonna be grading it over the break. They're gonna be watching Power School
Yeah, yeah. Now, one consolation. Friday, I'll tell you guys again the YouTube link for the review. If you guys haven't seen it already, for the Unit 1 review for government, man, just lap that up. Just sop it up. It's on Gordon Peer YouTube channel. It's not going to be on Canvas, but you guys can look at that. So hopefully that will.
What is it called?
If you just go on YouTube and look up Gordon Peer, it's on the channel, and the video is probably.
Look, smash that like button. I got merch coming out next week. It's gonna be really good.
You should create merch. That'd be sick.
No,
It's
don't
peer-
do that. Don't do
It's peer pressured interlude.
Okay.
Wait, so what is like the actual video?
Gordon Pearson channel. The video is called Government Unit 1 Review.
What is it for?
The test. Calvin, because the thought of, ooh, yeah, we got the test on the 22nd. That feeling of. The good news is in terms of your results, if you see it jiving with that video, then you're okay. You know, like, but still, that. The good news is I don't have any other paper after the fact. Okay. 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 Yeah, that's fair. And maybe it's like Jordan said, other school years might have that where you've got an assignment hanging over your head. But in general, looking forward to it, but still worried about that. Okay, last one. Olivia.
I'm excited for the break.
Yeah.
But I'm ready for these chases to go down. As we've been saying, like, I'm ready for an actual proper senior graduation.
Yeah.
We better get one. I swear, I will do a petition if we don't get one.
I was
Yeah.
last year.
Like I would do a petition to make everything.
Last year, my old school.
If we don't care, why should they care?
Last year, my old school, down in New Mexico, had to sit in their cars and just get handed a diploma and everything.
Yeah.
And I think as a senior, it's really important to be able to be with their classmates.
Yeah.
And be able to enjoy and have fun with them while we can. And then after high school, you're going off to college, you're on your mission, you're going to jobs. Like,
It's a U.S. culture thing. It's a seminal moment. I hope you guys get that for sure. All right, Eli, you said I'm not so much looking forward to the break before. Jonathan, I want to thoughts on that.
It's an unpopular opinion, but I really like being busy and having stuff to do,
Okay.
and I really enjoy school.
So, and this is where my wife was asking, I was like, because what are they going to go home to? You know, there's nothing else to go home to. So I thought like they would want, because I thought other things would open up by now. And understandably they haven't. You know what I mean? I thought like other things, but this is the only domino that's fallen, if you will, and that we've opened. So I thought people would be more like not wanting to go. But basing on what you guys are saying, I understand that the majority is, nah, it's a different year, but I'm ready for it. So it's okay for you guys to be a little squirrely this week. Got it. Okay. Let's do one thing, and then I will get to Stephen and Allie and
almost thought you didn't say my name and I was going to get actually.
Jenna. No, I'm going to get to all three. Jenna's, yes, your comments as well. But I do want to give a wink and nod to this. We do have some of the information to get through. We got through referendum.
I have a question though.
Well, let me make sure. We got through initiative. I think we got through referendum. We wrote that down.
Yeah.
Now, Stephen, this should be a perfect understanding of your topic on Prop 2. Meaning, on the actual ballot, you'll see propositions. You'll see like the 7 or so at the end of the actual ballot. So in this section on options on policies, right, we have initiative and we have referendum, or referenda. Both are usually called a proposition on the ballot, but they got there from different ways. Does that make sense? So initiative is done by, for some points, how is an initiative achieved or at least put on the ballot? Jorgen? Got it. Yeah, it's usually about 10%, but it can change for states. I think every state has some formative initiative thing. Could be digital, could be in person, but that means it's then voted on. And then that's bypassing the state legislature where if the governor signs into law, it should be law. Should be. Back to what you were saying about Proposition 2, right? I think it was Proposition, that was the number, right? Number 2, in regards to medicinal marijuana, that was done by referendum. So your sort of thought homework over the night was, why would a state legislature, like, if they could vote on it, right? Medicinal marijuana, vote on legalizing same-sex marriage. These are common referenda, right? If they could vote on these things, why doesn't the state legislature just do it themselves? Why don't they just do it? Why do they sort of put it on the general ballot? That's the only mechanism. They don't have to get a vote. They just sort of say like, okay, we're just going to put it on the ballot. Okay, and the people can directly vote on it. Why don't they just vote on it by themselves, Stephen?
Because then there's no like repercussion against them from their constituents if they didn't vote the way that the people want.
Yeah, so what topics do you think are going to turn into referenda? You can get specific or general.
Really controversial.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. That's really what it comes down to. Anything controversial is going to be a referendum in the sense of medicinal marijuana, or in the case of the most recent ballot, there was the one that was the most controversial. It said the state constitution will allow income taxes to also be used for schools and potentially those in need. And that was controversial. Like, wait, that sounds good. But again, the state legislature's like, I don't want to vote on this. I'm going to let Utahns vote on it. Jonathan?
I felt kind of like cheated on that because, and maybe I should have done more research, that's fair. But like on the question, it was like, should income taxes be used to help
Right.
the elderly and disabled? But then in a later, like that's all it said on the ballot. And then later it was like, this money would usually go towards education.
Yeah.
We switch. And
They phrased it where it said, to those in need.
yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, elderly. Wait, schools? They could have that as justification to raise income taxes, because property taxes are what's used for schools. Does that make sense? Income taxes for the state could now be used maybe to help those in need. And you're right, the wording was weird because the state legislature is like, Utahns don't like taxes, so we'll phrase it this way and let them vote on it. Yes, that's not being manipulative at all. It is, it's sort of controversial for Utahns, right, in terms of tax policy. Yeah, that's fair. Caleb?
Okay, I'm just confused. So when you said 7 propositions earlier, right? What are
Yeah,
those?
at this election year, there are, I think, 6 or 7 of them at the end of the ballot, yeah.
Okay, and those are like the legislative that we vote on, like the initiatives. right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct, yep.
Okay.
Yep, does that make sense? So
Yeah.
whether it's initiative or referenduming, the state legislature cops out. That's the difference. The state legislature's like, yeah, I'm not gonna touch that. We'll let the people vote on that directly. Either way, they're usually considered propositions you'll see on the actual ballot.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, very good call. Uh-huh.
Can you give the definition for referendum again?
Yeah, in case you didn't get it, when a proposed piece of legislation is found on the ballot, when a proposed piece of legislation is found on the ballot in a general election, you can also write down, if you didn't have it, usually the state legislature proposes it. Usually the state legislature proposes it. Proposed piece of legislation is found on the ballot in the general election, usually the state legislature proposes it. Alicia, does that help out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a difference. Very good, thank you for mentioning it. You can't feel cheated because like these are big things and you're not actually up to snuff on it. And unlike Nevada where sometimes they have a no vote option, like as you saw there, it's like, can I do, because sometimes a no vote option is nice because it helps legislatures, it helps governments know like, oh, you conscientiously chose none of the above, right? Does that make sense? And we didn't have that. So that's a thing for propositions. I see another hand up. Okay. Oh, Jaden, yeah.
So, an example for referendum is like any controversial topics,
Yep.
like the medical marijuana.
Medical marijuana, gay marriage was another popular one. Anything on controlled substances is the biggest one that's state to state to state now, and hence it being a referenda.
Is that the one they like word weird on the ballot, so to make you like?
Well, it's weird in the sense that you are directly voting on a piece of legislation without any real background knowledge on it. And so it's like, another one was about, okay, having state documents and state constitution change pronouns within the constitution instead of having man and woman, but going with they or other plural pronouns. It's something like that, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. You look at it and like, okay, I get that. But some of them are hard to understand because there's no background on it.
What was with the whole like state legislature can meet like later than usual or like?
Yeah, so currently they would count state holidays that they were off as actual days that the legislature would meet, because they're only counting federal holidays as the days they had off. And so that was gonna make it be like more honest of like the actual days they were meeting. A lot of it's more like just sort of generic things, I guess you could say. But I'd say the more popular propositions are, Jaden, controversial topics. So gay marriage, now through Obergefell versus Hodges is no longer controversial in the sense of that it's national, law. But controlled substances is the biggest thing right now. Water rights is another thing that was on.
Wait, controlled substances
As in,
Like drugs?
yeah, drugs, just in general. Legalization, medicinal, recreational, all the above. That's the most popular. Whereas in the early aughts, it was gay marriage laws, right? Like Proposition 8 for California, that was pretty.
So what do you mean by, like, that's one of the bigger things?
Currently, that's what people for referendum, like state legislatures won't want to vote on. Because those in the state legislatures are like, controlled substances, do we, for instance, allow for medicinal marijuana use? And if so, Jenna, to what level do we allow dispensaries to work, and how many do we give, and those types of laws?
Why is it just, like, I feel like it's mainly based on marijuana, not like any other drug.
Well, marijuana is aside from being called the devil's lettuce, it's an interesting drug in that use of it compared to other recreational controlled substances that we have, i.e. caffeine, or more importantly, alcohol, you can start to see some parallels between alcohol and marijuana. So that's one angle for pop culture right now to sort of attach itself to that, versus some move, if you will, for like, well, recreational ecstasy, because that's going to be not the same. And more importantly, Jenna, there are some medicinal uses for marijuana that can be used. So that's where the conversation starts, right? As opposed to like other controlled substances. I sincerely hope you will not see Nevada being like, we're going to legalize heroin. That's not the discussion, but marijuana is for medicinal issues, but then also for recreational, right? Because again, alcohol is used for recreational. You tax it, you get money, that's what you can do. So that's where it's been more popular in the discussion, if that makes sense. Caleb?
Okay, so my question is, if the people like voting on this, then why is everyone so mad at like the government for like the law that was passed?
And it goes back on the issue for medicinal marijuana, right? Yeah, for Utah. It goes back to what Stephen was saying is people are upset because what people voted on in the referenda was like, or the referendum was, okay, we're going to have medicinal marijuana use, we'll have a certain number of dispensaries. If you're far enough from any civilization in Utah, you can still get access, maybe by having some growing of your own, maybe as long as dispensaries also don't have like kid-friendly items they sell. Like that's what people thought was going to happen. But then the state legislature reneged on that. That's why they're upset about it. Is because like, wait, we feel like this isn't done correctly. And the state legislature says, well, don't worry, we're going to pass a better law on it. But it keeps going back and forth, Stephen.
Now it's only universities can grow it for
Correct.
Research purposes.
So they went from that to this compromise of the church so that they would endorse lobbyists, to now it's like universities can do it in a very narrow way. So that's why people are upset, because it's like, wait a second, this is, you reneged on the idea of a referendum. Does that make more sense?
Yes.
Yeah, good question. Calvin?
Well, with medicinal marijuana, don't even like get a high, right? It's just completely different from.
Well, it's not completely different. CBD oil and stuff like that is a little different, in terms of contact, if you will. But the actual medicinal marijuana, and there's certain edibles that you can have, that might be different. But you can see.
It's all about THC.
It's all about the THC, yeah. So, here's the thing: the FDA just needs to regulate it. To be honest, the FDA just needs to regulate it, because right now you got like really ghetto shops for dispensaries, and that's why the national government's gonna have to step in and take another state's power, but to help normalize it so you don't have everybody being Oregon. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just sort of like the wild, wild west of what you do. So the angle of, it depends on the THC. Medicinal marijuana, you will have, in a sense, a high, in the sense that it also helps deal with some of the pain management that you're having, right? Thinking the same of like pharmaceutical drugs, painkillers, okay? You get a high from those things in a different way, but that's way worse, in my humble opinion, than anything with marijuana in terms of your actual chemical makeup. So it does all depend on the THC. It all depends on that. But there is still a high associated with it, right? Medicinal marijuana doesn't make marijuana be like, you don't get anything from it. Like, you still do, but it's all the good side effects that come from it in terms of pain management. If that helps, right? Allie, yeah.
There are also like different strains of marijuana that help with a lot of different things, and there's a lot of like strains are like different types of it.
Yep.
That more of it can help with like physical pain, more of it can
Totally.
like, actually get you high.
But right now, it's sort of like the wild, wild west of like, can we get, I would love for the FDA to come in to help us sort of codify and make it a little more formal of like, sweet, this is cool, because man, that'd be so much better than like, I say this lovingly, but I get some white trash relatives, because like I grew up literally, yeah, trailer parks, so who were like all addicts. Like all addicts in terms of pharmaceutical drugs and painkillers and stuff. Like it's bad. So it's like I wish they had gone that route instead of that way instead. Yeah. Okay. Last one, Jordan.
And like you were saying, how it's dangerous when it's unregulated. A lot of the deaths last year that were blamed on teenage vaping actually came from unregulated carts, which are a royal form of marijuana.
Yep.
And since the FDA doesn't have any laws in place or enforcement, a lot of sketchy companies can just make them and fill them with whatever they want.
Totally.
It doesn't matter.
Or people can buy them and then
Right.
fill them with whatever they want, sell them to teenagers for
The irony that marijuana actually needs the government's pretty funny, but like it's true because it helps improve it and probably make it a little more efficient. Yeah. Okay. Good. Very good comments on that. We've got options on policies. I think we're pretty good there. Now let's go to general elections. Jenny, you did have a comment from way back when. What was your comment or question?
What the heck, man? Now I forgot.
Sorry, I promised I'd come back to you.
Oh, just kidding. I remembered.
Okay, go for it.
I asked you what you were doing for break.
Oh, that's fine.
And you left it off to right now.
Yeah, we deserve points for that.
Yes, that's so kind of you to ask what I'm doing for break. I am managing about 15 teachers from Florida who are working with China, and they all have to teach classes at 3 a.m.
So you're not even going to spend time with your family?
I am, but after, like, it's New Year's for them obviously doesn't really push anything on the meter, if you will, our New Year's, so that's when that's all happening. So that's gonna suck. But I have to say, I will see some in-laws on the day after Christmas. So we'll see some family, see a little bit of family, and I'm hoping to find some wicked good hills to go sledding on and stuff like that with kids. Because I don't know how to ski or snowboard, so I'm a lame-o from the East Coast. So that's my plan.
That's good. There's this place called Willard Bay. You know where Willard is?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like
What was that?
I snowboard.
I suck.
I snowboard too.
Well, my wife's a huge snowboarder. I suck at it. My wife is a huge snowboarder. And she's like, you should learn, and I suck. So Willard Bay. Good one.
Yeah, they have like they have Christmas lights set up, but you can drive through. They don't do this.
Oh yeah, yes. My wife, yes, I have been there before. All right, let's get to, we have 3 elections, 3 transformative elections that change the course of presidential elections forever. We have 3 of them. What was that? They're all for stunts? I am so lost right now.
It's okay.
They're all for stunts. Okay, that's a cool hipster thing you're saying, and I'm just going to nod and be like, yeah, I don't know. Okay. General elections are 3 elections that transformed everything for all presidential things, including studs. No presidents. Okay, I'm lost. All right, so yes, so these three things happen. The first one, for 5 points, can anybody guess what the first transformative election was? Where this happened, and if it didn't happen here, like we wouldn't have our campaigning ever since then. I mean, it happened early on in our country. Emma?
1800 between Adams and
Yes, that's great. Okay, so the first one, 1800. Okay, we got three things to write down here. So 1800 is the first one, and it is between, who were the main initial candidates? Let's say it that way.
Adams and Jefferson.
Yes, Adams and Jefferson. Okay, 1800. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. Adams and Jefferson.
I'm related to Adams. Just thought I'd share that.
Like legitimately?
Yeah, like actually.
Wow. Okay, so we get into some family stuff today. Because this election was so bad. Well, so funny and so bad at the same time. We often think of these founders as being these pious robed toga wearers of like, yes, philosophy, and talking about politics, and we are holy men. No, Allie, it was so different. So guys, 1800, Adams versus Jefferson. Jefferson called Adams. I connected close. Called Adams a hermaphrodite. Yeah, this is recorded. So Jefferson called Adams a hermaphrodite.
Can we write this down?
Yes. I'm not going to spell it for you. Jefferson called Adams a hermaphrodite. We'll get into it in a second.
We're really writing this?
Yes, Jefferson called Adams a hermaphrodite.
I don't know how to spell that. I know what that means.
Look it up on your phone. That one.
Why not this? What the heck, man? I just don't know how to spell it.
And Adams called Jefferson. How do I say this in a nice way? A mutt.
Oh.
I'm censoring it here. No, that's a different word. So
I'm so confused.
So Jefferson called Adams a hermaphrodite, and Adams called Jefferson a mutt.
How do you spell hermaphrodite?
He did not exactly.
H-E-R-M
Wait, what?
H-E-R-M-A-P-H-R-O-D-Y-T-E. And it could be, I mean, at least the spelling is seen as D-Y-T-E, but I'm not going to test you on that. So, here's the reason. 1800 was a unique year in the sense of politics because, so we know the first president of the United States was George Washington, yes. And as he's leaving to go to Mount Vernon, he's like, hey guys, I'm a great guy. I could have resumed more power. I could have controlled everybody. I can control this whole country. But I'm deciding to step down in a deference and reverence in a way because I believe that as a republic, we should uphold laws, and that is the highest power, not people. Stepping down. Wow, how amazing that was. And his farewell address, written mainly by Hamilton,
I know this one.
he's espousing certain virtues for the country. His farewell address, Steve or anybody else, what is he saying to the country? Yeah, Steve.
Well, I remember one thing he says is to avoid bipartisanship.
Yeah, he's like, avoid factions. He's like, look, vote conscientiously on the ballot of your own thinking. Don't say this is a group or faction, I'm therefore going to go with them and be like bipartisan and like this party's God and this party's the devil. He says, as he's leaving the Mount Vernon, please, number one thing, don't do that. And Adams, who is a later than Federalist, though they're Federalists there, he's buddies with Washington, like, oh, you betcha, buddy. Jefferson and I were pals. And Jefferson, who is Democratic Republican, he's saying, you know, like, oh, you're right, Washington, but when the cat's away, the founders will play. Because, Emma, when he left, all heck breaks loose. Because who then wins the presidency after Washington? Adams. Now, guys, before the 12th Amendment, this is important. The Electoral College was still there. And it was just certified, right, that yes, Biden, as we talked about, President-elect Biden is indeed certified by the Electoral College. But in the Electoral College, you had, as an elector, 2 votes. You had a vote. Well, ultimately, we'll keep it simple. You voted for the presidents. prior to the 12th Amendment, who was the vice president? Emma? The person who got second. So imagine 2016 if that was still the case. Imagine if President Trump and Vice President Clinton were there, right? That was 1796, guys. That's 1796. Because I'm telling you, while you think Clinton and Trump would be like, ooh, at each other's throats, Allie, more impressively, Adams and Jefferson hated each other. Mortal enemies. I mean, on their dying day, you guys probably, in A-Push, you guys talk about this, like when they died on the same day.
Yeah.
They died on July 4th. And what was Adams' last thing he said before he died? Jefferson lives. They were so petty that it's like, who's going to live longer?
They're probably in love.
I don't know.
If they were like that
But Colin, these guys hate each other because they were, as Stephen's saying, they were partisan, right? Partisan politics, different politics. And Washington's like, what the crap's going on? And they're totally doing this. 1796, Adams wins the #1 in terms of votes. Who gets the second most? Jefferson. So Adams is this tall, Jenna, no offense. Okay? And Jefferson is like your stereotypical, like, I'm a president. I'm 6'3.5", and I'm going to be president. I'm authoritative.
You're not Jefferson, you're George Washington.
I'll take that compliment every day and twice on Sunday. But Jefferson is like your stereotypical, right? And then Madison's like, hey, master. Like, this weird relationship. Because, so you have Adams, who's a sort of short, stocky guy who he is impressively connected to English, and Jefferson, who's this tall rigger, like, yes, I like French ladies, and he's from France, okay? These two are almost polar opposites, and now they're president and VP, and Jefferson feels like he has been a slave for 4 years, right? I have to do your bidding. I'm the vice president. I don't like this. And in 1800, the new election. So who's running here? So now Jefferson's like, oh, time for payback. So Jefferson and Adams are running, and Jefferson, who is his own VP, says that Adams doesn't have the confidence of a man, nor the effeminate beauty of a woman, therefore he's an hermaphrodite. Specifically, he's a hermaphroditical fool.
I love that. What a rose. Please.
And so it's like,
I can remember it forever.
like,
Or just have it on a shirt.
well written, Jefferson, but wow, and this is all published in the papers, and like, early Americans are like, interesting, what's a hermaphrodite? Oh, interesting. So they're saying this idea, and he calls him that, and then Adams responds and says that Jefferson's lineage is questionable, and is actually the son of a Native American lady of the night.
Wow, that's very impressive. Lady of the night.
In a lot more flowery language than that. And so he calls him that, and this is all in the papers, and you might think, well, why does this matter? Why is this relevant at all? Guys, for 10 points, this has introduced a concept that is still used in presidential elections and in almost every other election. For 10 points, what is this term? It's a political campaign term. But since then, this is used in politics. Anybody know?
Ask me for what the term is.
So you can, I'll give you a little bit of hint here. Let's keep writing here under 1800 that this introduces the concept of, for 10 points, anybody know? This introduces the concept of, where they're not debating here, McAuley, substantive issues. They're not saying like, well, my tax policy is better. Well, I think the Bank of America should be used this way instead. No, they're like, dude, you a mutt and you got lady parts, okay? And like, that's what's happening between the two.
Being childish?
Okay, I know, like you're like, oh, so this is the hair. Jorgen?
Is it smear politics?
Ooh, I will take that. I will take it. This introduced the concept of, we'll say mudslinging, which is the same thing. Mud-slinging. It's smear politics. That's really what it is. Mud-slinging. Introduces the concept of mud-slinging. Very good, Jorgen. It's the same thing. Smear politics, mud-slinging. which is sort of fighting dirty in the sense, Tyler, of like, I'm not going to debate you on like your concept of tax policy or immigration policy. Instead, I'm going to insult you because you employed an illegal immigrant and then said Mexico's horrible. Gotcha. That's what happened in 2012 with Mitt Romney. There was a debate with the other Republican primary candidates, and Rick Perry was like, oh, I know we're talking about tax policy, but right here I have a tax return from an undisclosed illegal immigrant that was your gardener. What do you have to say about that, Mitt Romney? And you're like, tax policy? Mudslinging. We have mudslinging. Was mudslinging used at all in 2020? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the debate. The first debate. Guys, Hunter Biden was the perfect example of mudslinging. Okay? It had maybe some connections to government affairs. I get that. I understand that. But him in the latter part of the first debate being like, you know, what about your son? You know, and he kept saying, talk about the sun, talk about the sun. And it was all trying to pivot, Allie, to go, we're going to focus instead on this mudslinging smear politics, smear campaign. Yay, thank you, Adams and Jefferson. They were the ones that introduced it, and we've used it in American politics ever since. Right?
Why did we decide we should keep this?
People love a conflict.
You talked, and you're so good, Kayla, to ask for what could it take for people to stop focusing on like the things that don't matter, focus on things that matter, right? You asked that from before. We like to, I mean, honestly, there's some clickbaity things you want to click on, like, ooh, that Yahoo News link sounds really interesting. Is Hunter Biden actually the illegitimate son of Jefferson's mutated boy?
Okay, Jefferson's and Adams could have been best friends, I swear. Only best friends could insult each other that much and get over it.
Which also meant that the founding doctrines were a freaking miracle that they got actually ratified, because these guys are so different. These guys are way different from each other. Impressive. All impressive. Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, what was George Washington doing while this was happening? Like, what was he thinking about this?
He had civil dinner appointments with both of them. He's like, come to my home, yes. So, how are things and what are you doing? And I loved it. He had civil dinners. He invited them to Mount Vernon, and he's like, let me instill some civility in you little punks. And they'll be like, oh, we'll be better. But Adam's like, but you're really a Federalist, right? Right. Because there's a whole party thing there. Okay. All right. So that's what they're doing. Good question. So we have that, and I know we're not doing a break. Can I give you 5 points if we just push through any break and go through
How about
any?
6 points?
6 and we have a deal.
7.
I don't think that's how it works. I'll go 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think that works. Okay. Okay, so we have 1800. Allie, you had your hand up from before, and I wanted to call on you.
Something you said, like, remind me of, like, school and work was bigger inconvenience for me because, like, since school started, I feel like it was 3 o'clock in the morning to make sure I get everything
Got
done
it.
in the day.
Oh, bless your heart, man. That is intense. It's like teaching for China right there. So you get to sleep until the crack of 6:30 a.m. Wow.
Right, and I get home at, like, 11 o'clock.
Yikes. Yikes. Well, I hope you do have a rejuvenative break in that sense. Okay, so 1800, we get it. Why, Kayla, we done it? It stuck with us. And the funny thing is these guys said it, but they would never campaign for themselves. You would never see Jefferson, 1800, be like, hi, shake my hand, I'm going to be running for president. They never did that. That was beneath them. They would never do that, right? Just sort of odd. 15 points for the next election. This one is not from a popular election in the sense of these candidates. You probably don't know them. They both have both have the same first name. I'll give you that help. Even the guy who wins, you're like, I don't even know who that guy is. He was assassinated, but if you honestly can remember this election, either the year or the names of these candidates.
Thomas and Thomas taken against
No. This was the other transformative one. It was really big.
JFK?
Nope.
Not even close.
No.
James Cleveland.
Is it like this?
Ooh, no. Cal.
Was it an assassination or assassination attempt?
It was assassination. So the guy who won So we'll go from 10 now to 8 points or whatever. The guy who won, who was assassinated. Oh, it's 15. Excuse me. Go to 13 now. Sorry. He was assassinated, and his successor was really popular. Unexpectedly, he was a really young guy.
Wait, was this
He-
one of the presidents? JFK or Abraham Lincoln?
That's what I'm saying. Is like that. Those are the people you know about in terms of assassinations. This guy was assassinated. He was at the World's Fair in Buffalo. I think Buffalo. Jordan.
It's James Madison.
What?
James Cleveland.
James Madison.
You're thinking about Garfield or Grover Cleveland?
Is it like Henry, like that, like 9th or 10th?
Great, great.
James Madison.
Did you say great?
Wait, what year was it?
I'm not gonna give you the year.
Wait, what about 1800s and
1800s. Barely. So I'll get okay.
William McKinley.
I remember, I can see
Versus.
the picture in
I don't know.
Versus. Okay, so you got 7 points now. So
Versus another
it's
William.
William McKinley versus another William, and this guy loses. He does the whole 8 push like the cross of gold speech he gives. That should sound a little familiar. McKinley, he was shot.
What did he later become?
Jennings Bryan.
There it is. Okay, we'll give you 10 points. I had to lead the witness a ton there. 10 points.
That is so
Good job, Olivia. What?
That is 13.
11.
Yes, 12, 12, 12.
Yeses.
12.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and a half. So guys, the second one that you want to write down here. So you got Adams and Jefferson, 1800. The second one is 1896.
Wait, William McKinley? But he was assassinated in 1901.
Do the math, things. So he eventually gets assassinated. So he does, right? If that makes sense. But
You were
this,
talking about his assassination.
yeah, not the assassination attempt itself, because that's I don't want to say that's nothing new. Even though it sounds bad. That's not like big and transformative. So 1896.
Right, but doesn't he get assassinated after this? So why would, I'm so lost.
So the second thing you want to write down is 1896.
Okay.
William McKinley versus William Jennings Bryan. McKinley versus Jennings Bryan. For a second, Kayla, forget about his assassination.
Okay.
Because honestly, for this, it's not important. It's sad that that's the only thing we remember him by, really. Because in this case, it's not so much that he's assassinated, whatever. These two guys are going against each other, okay? And McKinley, in this case, okay, so Jennings Bryan, McKinley, okay, for 5 more points.
6.
Jennings Bryan has no chance to win. McKinley is like the old veteran dude who's going to win in 1896. For 5 points, Jennings Bryan, he goes from city to city and he campaigns for himself, right? And he calls these things a short speech that he has to like jump up on something because they're going from town to town and all the not soapbox. It's a different type of speech. They give it rallies where a presidential candidate will give a 2 to 5 minute thing. We're like, this is why you want to vote for me. Here's my main things. And here we go. That speech for 5 points is called
Cross of Gold speech.
Well, Jennings Bryan gave that, yes. But he creates this idea. That's your homework for now. What is this type of speech called? It matters so much, Caleb, because he is the first presidential candidate ever to campaign for himself.
Jennings or Bryan? Jennings is the other one.
Jennings Bryan is the one who's doing this. So he loses, but he makes the election super close. And they think, wow, this whole
Why did they
campaign
assassinate
didn't
him
do well.
anyways?
Well, they assassinated McKinley later on because the guy was crazy. Not McKinley, but the guy who assassinated him. So that's your homework for tonight. What's this speech, a 2 to 5 minute thing that a presidential candidate does? That's like, vote for me. Prior to him, though he lost, what? You're right, Greg. He starts this campaign. Prior to 1896, presidential candidates, McKinley didn't campaign for himself. He sat on his stoop and let all of his other workers campaign for him. He didn't shake hands or kiss babies or anything like that. So that's the question. What is that speech? Think about joining a city. You would want to teach when you cut trees down and your kids be taught by them. Hold on 1 second.